Derek, what is with being so busy on Monday?
I don't know.
Man,
We should not schedule so many things on a Monday, right?
oh, I usually had a rule that's like, don't leave Monday blank because it's going to turn into a show.
Yeah. And in the chamber world, Mondays are always busier.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing that's the same in about any industry. Mondays are a little busy coming off of a weekend, but chamber chatter.
Yeah. What did we do this morning though too?
Well, we had an awesome ribbon cutting.
Mm-hmm.
We had U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts in town. He opened up his office officially with a chamber ribbon cutting. And so that was quite the event. Had a lot of dignitaries in town. That's always awesome. And as you know, Senator Ricketts has a great track record as our governor of Nebraska and is doing an outstanding job as a rookie senator in Washington. So it's awesome.
Nice. And then we got another ribbon cutting coming up too.
We have just all kinds of events.
Yeah.
Follow our calendar to stay busy with us, please. And but we're chamber chattering today with Lori Widowson right here in the headquarters at CSS Farms. And so, Lori, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into potatoes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Derek and Riley. Appreciate you having me on today, and always so appreciative of everything that the Kearney Area Chamber of Commerce is able to do, not only for our business, but what it gives back to our community. I think it's really, really important what you all do. My name is Lori Widowson, and I serve as the Director of Marketing and Communications for CSS Farms, which we are a national potato grower. And CSS Farms has been my home for the last 9 years. And it's also been in Kearney for about the last 9 years. So while CSS Farms has been in business of growing potatoes for 37 years now, since 1986, 9 years ago, we opened up our first office in Kearney.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This used to be like a chiropractor office at one point in time.
It did.
And that's awesome. So we went from cracking backs to now, some potato chips over here.
And today here in our office in Kearney, it houses not only our headquarters with our CEO, our chief operating officer, many of our directors, but all of our shared services that support all of our 14 farms across the country that grow potatoes that grow up to be potato chips.
That's awesome. 14 farms?
14 farms around the nation. And so we have accounting, marketing, human resources, all of our equipment, sales, logistics, and data systems and information technology are all housed here out of our Kearney office.
That's awesome. So about what time of year is a good time of year to plant potatoes? And does that depend on kind of location and
it does.
where? Because I grew up in Northeast Colorado.
Sure.
There's some sandy soil north of Ray, where I grew up, and so I actually was on the sort line.
Farms.
I was actually on the sort line, and the worst part about being on the sort line is your eyes get so you get dirt all the time. I came home every night with my eyes like bloodshot, and it was not maybe the most enjoyable job that I've ever had. It's a tough job.
It is.
Sorting potatoes, but I did get help on the digger every once in a while, and that wasn't too bad. But so kind of, what is kind of the time frame for potatoes?
Well, the time frame does vary depending upon the time of year, but here in Nebraska, it basically follows the corn rotation. So May into early June planting, and then harvest the same thing, late September into October, early November at the latest, because you definitely don't want the potatoes to freeze.
Yeah. Are there quite a bit of farms in fields in Nebraska for potatoes? I mean, because we're known for corn.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then I would suppose you see a lot of beans. Alfalfa obviously is another, major crop, but are there a lot of potatoes?
There are. I believe Nebraska is number 15 in actual potato production in the United States. And can't think of exactly how many acres. It's probably 8,000 to 10,000 acres of potatoes. So not a whole lot, but an acre of potato produces a lot of potatoes. So an acre of potatoes here in Nebraska could possibly produce up to 450 100-pound sacks of potatoes. So that's a lot of potatoes.
That's a lot of chips.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like chips.
And so
I was going to say, I venture to say that I'm doing my part to keep you in business. I should be like a shareholder or something.
Right. Yeah. Feeding a family of 7 total and my 5 kids, they like chips as well. So
well, and in Nebraska, CSS Farms actually has 4 farms.
okay.
2 commercial farms and 2 seed farms, and potatoes like sandy soil. So the Platte River Valley is always very popular for that type of soil. Potatoes like to be spoon fed all their nutrients and their water, and they like that, sandy, glassy soil. So that way it just hits the potato and then everything else drops through. And then when you harvest, they come out clean. And so a lot less washing and things that have to be taken care of before they go to the plant. So
you said Nebraska's 15? Riley, trivia. Who's number 1? I have a guess. I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm hoping Lori knows the answer, but I have a guess.
Yes.
What's your guess, though? I'm going to let you go first.
Idaho.
Yes, that's what I was going to guess.
Idaho is number 1, but Idaho is most famous for table potatoes. So the kind of potatoes that they grow in Idaho are much different than the potatoes we grow here in Nebraska, or that CSS Farms particularly grows. So Idaho potatoes are table potatoes that are kind of oblong and have thick skin, and you buy at the grocery store.
Okay.
And are stored in cellars for, upwards of a year. And here in Nebraska at CSS Farms, we grow round chipping potatoes that are still the white flesh, but they're round and they have a thinner skin set, and they look like a baseball or a softball versus oblong football sort of a thing. And that's because our potato chips, we want them to be, about yay big, and they don't want to have to peel a lot off in order to get to that potato chip.
Right.
And so, yeah.
So the farm I worked on definitely was not the round potato chips.
Sure.
But my favorite part when I worked on that farm is when we would go check pivots and just making sure the water's running and everything's looking good there. And one of the grandsons of the operation, him and I would go check pivots, and we'd bring salt and tinfoil. And we would dig up a potato and then slice it up really thin. And then on the way back into town, because we're about 10 miles north of town, and then the actually farm then was about 5 miles. So we had about a 15-minute drive. So we would slice them up really thin, put them on tinfoil, open up the engine, put them on the engine, and then we would drive into town, and then we would uncover them. And they were not too bad by that time. They were kind of cooked, and we would salt them and eat some good potatoes. So
that's awesome.
That was my favorite part of, potato farming, not sorting and being on the line there. But
I have a lot of respect for you actually working on a potato farm. Working on a potato farm is a lot of work. They definitely have a really strong dedication to being farmers that want to feed the world. So,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely has to be a passion for anyone who is working on the line, working out in the field.
I was showing Riley your NFL football chips over there, and so we'll get a shot of that. But tell us a little bit about how that came about, and I know that you guys got some dirt from the NFL football fields actually. So
we did. Yes, we are one of the 4 or 5 main growers for Frito-Lay. And when Frito-Lay was putting together a marketing promotion for last year's Super Bowl, they had approached us last winter and asked if we would be willing to plant 32 separate plots of land using soil from each of the NFL practice fields or actual fields, and then put them out and then keep them straight and then harvest them separately. And then they went through the process of bagging each of those chips individually. And they used it as a really large marketing campaign for the Super Bowl this last year. And that was done in our Dalhart, Texas farm. And again, we took it as a great opportunity to serve our customer, have the focus be on amazing farmers who actually do grow the food that becomes, what we all enjoy in our homes and on our plates. And Frito-Lay was able to depend on us and depend on the professionals that we have here at CSS Farms in order to execute that promotion seamlessly and extremely successfully.
Isn't that awesome?
This is a cool story.
Your
I
favorite
love it.
football team, Riley?
Not really.
Not really.
I
Not
do.
NFL?
I can't get into it. I don't know. I like college football. I just
No, that's all right.
NFL's like meh.
Maybe CSS Farms will get some college football potato chips. At
There
some
you
point in
go.
Time. I'm a Bronco fan. Growing up in Colorado.
Yeah,
Makes
Not
sense.
the best season last season, so
we're going to be hopeful
but
this year.
but that's okay. So I'm not sure. I should have grabbed some Bronco potato chips. I don't do the shopping in my family though.
Yeah, well, and most of the bags that they made, I think they made 500 bags for each of the teams, and most of them were sent to their large
Right.
donors. So I don't even know how many were actually sold on the open market. I know you
Gotcha.
can get them on eBay.
Oh.
Certainly, some
awesome.
are selling them on the secondary market because that's where I had to go to get mine.
Oh, that's cool. So CSS Farms right here in Kearney, Nebraska. I mean, and all over the world, right? I mean, I would assume, right? I mean, potato chips, I mean, you're global, right?
Yes.
Where Frito-Lay, I mean, if you're just working with that one company, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So any of and if you're eating Frito-Lay potato chips here in Nebraska, most likely they're coming from the Frito-Lay plant in Topeka, which our farm in north of Minden and just west of Columbus supply the Topeka plant
Okay.
mostly. And then, we export potatoes from our Washington State farm all over the world, Southeast Asia. So we go to Japan, Korea, Philippines, Malaysia,
Wow.
Taiwan. Yes.
How many people here locally do you think know that? I just think it's cool.
Well, how many employees do you have here? And then maybe their
There's
spouse
somebody
and kids,
And
right?
anybody who knows me.
Right?
Lori's a good.
I just think it's a cool
advocate for
story.
kids.
It's like when you go to Walmart, Hy-Vee, wherever, you get a bag of chips, you don't think that it came out from the
could've-
field down the road.
It could have came from Nebraska. CSS Farms probably played a part in that.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I think the bonus of today, Riley, is Lori is also one of my bosses.
Yeah.
So we have 13 board of directors at the Kearney Area Chamber of Commerce. Lori joined our board, 2 years?
Just last year.
Just last year. And so she's on the executive board. And so she'll go through the chairs and eventually be the president of the Chamber of Commerce, following, I think, Stacy.
Yeah, I think
Bavona.
2025 is my year.
Oh, you've got it. You already
yeah.
know. So she's
I
like,
think
okay, I got to come up with a slogan, and my speech. And
I got to figure out.
I feel like that annual meeting, if we do not provide chips, we're dropping the ball.
Oh, for
We're
sure.
gonna have to provide some chips.
I think that's pretty much guaranteed.
We could do like a little swag bag item of some small potato chips or something. That'd be fun for her tenure. So
I like in their boardroom, they have you've got like some like stress balls, but they're
yes.
potatoes. I was like,
really?
that's awesome.
perfect.
Get you one of those.
What's been eye opening since you've been on the board of directors in your year and a half?
Yeah. I would say the most eye-opening part of our work as the board of directors for the chamber has been the amount of professionalism that goes into all of the interactions that we have. And not only the number, which you mentioned this morning, Riley, there's so many things that are going on. But every time that I go to a ribbon cutting or an open house or a chamber after hours or to any of those sorts of things, it is always well branded. It's always well advertised. It has a presence that I think really reflects on the Kearney area extremely well. And I think is part of why so many businesses support our mission to, promote business within this area. And while we're going to continue to grow. And I also am always constantly amazed at how many people are wanting to know more about what the chamber does. And so while I think we have excellent communication and reach, I think there's always some people that are left that need to know more about what the chamber message is all about.
Right. I
So-
think, just like any business, they don't know the ins and outs all the time.
Yeah.
I like how you talked about professionalism. I mean, honestly, the Kearney business community has set the standard pretty high, and we want to be able to be part of that standard and have great customer service, have great marketing, have great just brand awareness. We want to obviously, be part of that professional, attitude that the Kearney area really has set a standard for us to reflect in that sense. And so I like how you pointed that part out.
Well, and it's neat. Part of what drew us to Kearney. Now, our CEO, Steve Gangwish, this is his hometown. He actually grew up in Shelton. And so he knew of the value of Kearney and knew that this is where he wanted to raise his family. And he knew that this is where an agricultural business could be well supported with professionals in many areas that we need to support those farms. And he knew that Kearney would be the place to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking with Senator Ricketts this morning just about how he's a huge advocate for ag and it's vital to our community. I mean, when the ag community does well, the Kearney business area community does well. And so it definitely goes hand in hand. There's definitely a barometer where you look at just the market and how well ag does. And then it's a really reflection on every other industry. So it's pretty neat to see those things.
Yep.
Well, Riley, I think we can close out. If we still want to sponsor.
Yeah.
Are we still open? Sponsor? Still open? Yeah. I think we've got one kind of on the hook, so we'll see how that goes. But we can have multiple sponsors. We would love to shout out your business during our Chamber Chatter. So if you're interested in sponsoring Chamber Chatter, reach out to Riley. We'd love to give you like a mini commercial through our podcast, and so we can have multiple ones. But we need to get our first.
And we obviously the podcast, but we have a variety of options. We have mobile text alerts. You could sponsor the mobile text alert. So every time the chamber sends out a text, which is a lot, business after hours, ribbon cuttings, all those great things, we could be sponsored by CS Farms.
We would be remiss if we did not shout out our marketing opportunities. They're affordable marketing.
Selfish
right? We reach a great audience, and we reach I think we reach the audience that most businesses want to reach, right? We have a great chamber family with over 850 chamber members, and those are the ones that are going to be getting our communication pieces. And I think what's awesome about this podcast, and it's global.
It is.
We have people that have got on from all kinds of locations.
Yep. And by the way, I didn't tell you this yet this morning. I was checking Edwards Jones' podcast. Yeah. 3 from Germany, 1 from France.
Okay, so I'm going to have to up the ante, and I have to send this podcast to all of my customers in Southeast Asia, so that when they listen,
you might as well.
You can get hits from
we'll know
all those amazing places.
Love it. That'd
be fantastic.
Let's grow our audience. Let's go big or go home. Right?
That's right.
Perfect. Sure. Well, awesome. Thanks, Lori, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for hosting us in this awesome spot. And hopefully you know a little bit more about CSS Farms after our podcast today. If not, you got a website that you can log on to.
CSSfarms.com. You can see all about our farms, get in contact directly with me. Be glad to visit with you.
Perfect. All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, Riley here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Make a Move podcast. For more content, check us out on all major social media platforms and makeamovepodcast.com. Until next time, get off your butt and make a move.